Piers, thanks for having me.
So, look, a lot of people think you've got no chance of winning. What's the point? What is the point of continuing?
Well, a lot of people said that Donald Trump had no chance of winning when he ran in a 19-way primary in 2015. What I'm telling you, Piers, is that I'm here to tell the truth. And when we were at the University of Florida 2 weeks ago and we had 500 people in the audience, black, white, rich, poor, Muslim, Christian, Jew, that spoke to a real energy on the ground. And so I'm not going to put blind faith in polls that said that Hillary Clinton was the shoo-in and that Kamala Harris was the shoo-in. I'm going to speak truth out of an unapologetic love for a state that my family has called home for 4 generations now. The truth is that I love my state, but my state is hurting right now. Young couples can't afford to buy a home. People are being laid off and billionaires are firing them to bring in cheap foreign labor.
The interview opens with a tough question. Many people believe this candidate has no real chance of winning. So why continue? Instead of backing down, he draws a bold comparison to Donald Trump's unexpected rise in 2015. He positions himself as someone who refuses to follow public opinion or polls, emphasizing that his mission is about truth, not popularity. Right from the start, he frames his campaign as an uphill battle driven by conviction rather than convenience.
From South Asia, all at the same time when essential services like healthcare are being denied to veterans all over this state. And so I am fighting for a state that every single Floridian can afford, and that's why I'm running for governor.
One of the big things you've been on recently, you've been on a very critical run against Israel, particularly for roping America into the war in Iran as you see it, because you say they're too cowardly to fight for themselves, although they are fighting, obviously, in Iran. It's interesting because in November 2024, a few weeks after October the 7th, you said this.
He explains that during a recent event at the University of Florida, he witnessed real support from a diverse crowd, people of different races, religions, and financial backgrounds. This moment, he says, proved that energy on the ground matters more than poll numbers. He criticizes past predictions that turned out wrong, suggesting that relying on polls can mislead people about reality. For him, the campaign is about connecting with real voices, not statistics.
So a lot of people look at that clip and the extended version and other comments you made at the time and thought, well, here's a really staunch supporter of Israel and the Israeli government and the relationship with America. And now you appear to have done a massive U-turn on this and become incredibly critical of them. A, do you accept that characterization? And if so, explain the change in mind.
Well, Piers, I'm glad you played that clip and gave the full context. I'm grateful for that. What I said in that clip, I stand by today, which is that Iran should never be funding the crazy terroristic proxies of Hezbollah or the Houthis or Hamas. And I also have been critical of the Israeli government. What I'm especially critical of is the fact that they now want $200 billion for the Pentagon to fight a war that Marco Rubio himself said we are fighting because Israel was the proximate catalyst for getting us in this war. So,
shifting to local issues, he paints a troubling picture of his state. Young families are struggling to afford homes, layoffs are increasing, and companies are replacing workers with cheaper foreign labor. At the same time, veterans are being denied essential healthcare services. He uses these concerns to justify his candidacy, presenting himself as someone fighting to make the state affordable and fair for...
Two things can be true at the same time, Piers. You understand the nuance. The first thing that's true is that, no, Israel should not be attacked by Iran. And then number two is that the United States should not lose free speech rights or send billions of dollars of taxpayer money to the Israeli government every single year. And so I'm going to speak the truth in a way that I think people in my state appreciate.
Okay,
it's not
and just to be
or.
clear, do you believe that Israel has a right to exist?
I believe that countries don't have right to exist, but I believe that people have a right to exist, and Jewish Floridians, like Christian and Muslim Floridians, have a right to exist in my state, and I will defend that right. Piers, I condemn all forms of anti-Semitism.
Hang on, just to be clear, so you don't think Israel has a right to exist?
I don't think that communist China has a right to exist, but I think the Han Chinese as an ethnicity
I'm not talking about China. I'm talking specifically about Israel, which, as you know, the Israeli government...
The conversation takes a sharp turn toward international politics, particularly his views on Israel and Iran. The interviewer points out what seems like a contradiction between his past and present statements. Previously seen as strongly pro-Israel, he now appears more critical. This shift raises questions about whether he has changed his stance or if his views have been misunderstood.
The Israeli government is emphatic that it has this right to exist, and that right is threatened by its neighbours, many of whom want to cause it harm, through the terrorist proxies from Iran in particular. So the issue of whether it has a right to exist is a very hot one, as you know. So just to be clear, you just don't think they have a right to exist, Israel?
I don't think that any country
No,
has
I know
a
you
right
said
to
that.
exist.
I'm not talking about any country. I'm talking about specifically Israel.
Specifically Israel, and specifically and generally every country in the world does not have an inherent right to exist. Who has a right to exist are people, and that includes Jewish Floridians who are struggling just as Christian Floridians are under the weight of a cost of living crisis, Piers, and I'm going to fight for them every single day as their next governor.
Okay, let's get to the sin tax.
In response, he clarifies that his position is more nuanced than it appears. He insists that Iran should never fund extremist groups, while also criticizing the idea of the United States spending billions on foreign conflicts. According to him, it is possible to support Israel's safety while opposing excessive U.S. involvement. He emphasizes that his approach is about balance, even if it sounds controversial.
You've proposed a 50% sin tax on OnlyFans creators to discourage what you call immoral behavior. So just explain that.
Well, there was a time not too long ago in the United States of America where young girls aspired to be cooks and lawyers and reporters and doctors, and nowadays they are resigned to the fact that if they have an unexpected expense or they need to cover their rent or groceries, the quickest way for them to do that is being exploited by the OnlyFans platform. And so I respect women. I respect them enough to think that they are capable of anything they put their minds to, and I never want a woman in my state to be exploited by the online sex slavery that is OnlyFans.
But
And that's why as governor,
I thought it was a voluntary platform.
it's not. There's nothing voluntary about a platform that exploits women and forces them to sell nude photos on the internet.
When you
Piers.
say
this is a
force,
classic
again,
case.
just to be clear about what OnlyFans is, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding about OnlyFans is it's voluntary. No one's forcing you to do it. People go on OnlyFans, create an account.
The discussion intensifies when he questions whether any country has an inherent right to exist. Instead, he argues that people, not nations, have rights. This perspective sparks a tense back and forth with the interviewer, who repeatedly presses him on Israel specifically. Despite the pressure, he sticks to his broader philosophy, focusing on protecting individuals rather than defending governments.
And they charge money for whatever they want to put on their account. I'm not sure where the exploitation element, as you're articulating it, is.
Well, this is often the defense of sex trafficking, that a 15-year-old
sex
girl
trafficking
is
is illegal.
voluntarily
Well, hang on. Sex
entering.
trafficking is illegal.
And I believe that OnlyFans should be illegal as well.
Really?
There's nothing
Why? What law
voluntary
are they
about,
breaking?
Well, there's nothing. Well, I would change the law. I would change the law. That's how we do things. I mean, slavery wasn't illegal, and then we said this is a moral repugnancy.
But who's enslaving people on
and we changed
OnlyFans?
the law.
I'm really
It's
curious.
Enslaving.
Maybe you've consumed a lot more OnlyFans content than me, and you see
I've never
trafficking
been on
and
OnlyFans,
slavery and everything
Piers.
else. But I'm not aware that that is what OnlyFans is. It has a lot of adult content, but legal adult content, which is monitored according to the law, and that people who have accounts there do so voluntarily. They open accounts and they charge money. We have somebody.
The topic shifts again, this time to his proposal for a 50% tax on OnlyFans creators. He argues that modern society is pushing young people, especially women, toward adult content as a quick way to make money. In his view, this is a form of exploitation rather than empowerment. He frames the tax not as punishment, but as a way to discourage what he sees as harmful behavior.
I'm going to bring in a moment Sophie Rain, who has made $43 million from her account on OnlyFans. I don't think she's been enslaved or exploited. I think she's perfectly happy and enjoys what she does. I mean, I'll talk to her in a moment, but why do you feel she's a slave?
So I feel that this is a classic case of Stockholm syndrome, where the individual, the victim, the enslaved person doesn't feel that they have real agency. This goes back to Sociology 101, peers, that someone is induced to believing they have choice, they have agency, when in fact they can't make a decision for themselves. I want young girls in my state to aspire to be astronauts, doctors, nurses, small business owners. I believe a radical thing that women can do anything they put their minds to, peers, and I don't want them resigned
So do you
to
think,
the fact
just to be
that they
clear,
have to
do you think
sell.
modelling is modelling to you immoral?
I think naked modeling, however you want to euphemize it, naked modeling.
The interviewer challenges his stance, pointing out that platforms like OnlyFans are voluntary and legal. However, he compares the situation to psychological manipulation, suggesting that people may feel they have choices when they actually don't. He believes society should guide young people toward traditional careers instead of normalizing adult content as a primary income source.